Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, October 16th, 2022. This is episode 1936. Enjoy. This episode of the Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Podium. Join more than 100,000 businesses that already use Podium to streamline their customer interactions. See how Podium can grow your business. Watch a demo today at podium.com/twit. And by Shopify. Shopify makes it simple to sell to anyone from anywhere. This is possibility powered by Shopify. Sign up for a free trial at shopify.com/twit, all lowercase. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Yeah, it's Tech Guy time. This is the show, this is the show where we talk about tech, hence the name, the Tech Guy. I guess it's kind of self-explanatory. Tech means what? Anything digital, the internet, home theater, smartphones. Coming up, Sam Abuelsamid will talk about smart cars. A little later on, Pyle will talk about space. Chris Marquardt will talk about digital photography. You get the idea. Digital, man. You can even call and ask a question, make a comment, make a suggestion. The phone number is 8888-ASK-LEO. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. You can call outside that area. That's okay. You just have to use Skype out or some sort of voice over the internet doohickey to call it. Because it's a toll-free number in the U.S., though, it should be toll-free or cost-free for you anywhere in the world. 888-827-5536. The website, techguylabs.com, has all the information you hear on the show, all the links, the music playlist on Sundays. It has we call them the show notes, plus audio and video from the show and a transcript too. All of that at techguylabs.com. No sign-in, no login, nothing. You just go there. It's open. I don't want your information. I just want to give you the information. I don't need it doesn't have to be reciprocal. You don't have to give me any information. techguylabs.com. This is episode 1936. 1936. One thing, we're not, this isn't like, a TV show where it's, episode 36 from season 19. Actually, it could be, couldn't it? Come to think of it. Well, season 19 starts next year. This is, actually, I should do some math. I don't know. If we did seasons, this would be our 18th season. 18 years as the Tech Guy. Boy, have things changed. One of the big changes, artificial intelligence. We talk about that a lot. A lot of times when companies say, we're using AI, that's just a marketing term in their eyes. It's not really artificial intelligence. But there are things, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a definition. Because computers, what computers are is just very fast calculators. But they're so fast that what they do can appear to be thinking, to be magical. It isn't in most cases. It's definitely not magical, and it's not really thinking either. In most cases, what a computer is doing is following logic, rules given to it by a human or humans, the program. And it can, it's on rails. It can only go in, those directions that the human wrote. That's traditional computers, and almost everything you do runs that way. From Microsoft Office to you're making a phone call, that's using just rules, logic defined by humans that the machine follows. Very fast calculator. But there is something called artificial intelligence, or machine learning sometimes. And the way machine learning distinguishes itself from this old school kind of thing is it uses real world data as training sets. It absorbs it, it digests it, and internally makes its own rules up. No human makes up the rules. The computer makes up the rules. It digests all this information and says, well, I notice this happens every time that happens, so this must be the case, so this is the new rule. With artificial intelligence or machine learning is that process, right? Absorbing, digesting this information. With artificial intelligence, humans make rules, but they don't write programs. They just say, look, this is your goal. So for instance, AlphaGo, which is the smartest chess-playing computer out there. It's actually the smartest game-playing computer out there. It was designed to learn how to play the game by given the rules of the game and a goal, take the king, and then it played billions of games against itself. It just real fast, because it does it real fast, doesn't have to, there's no human involvement, and was able in 4 hours to play so many games that it started to see the rules, make up its own program. That's really the key. It wrote its own program and became better than any human. And it did that not just with chess, but it did it with an even harder game called Go. And has beat humans, the best human players at Go. It could, and so so when a car, for instance, is self-driving, which is, by the way, I'm going to put that in air quotes. When it's doing what it does, it's doing it based on training from a whole bunch of sets of information, right? The most interesting example of this right now is this, and maybe you've seen it already, this art generated by artificial intelligence. I hate the phrase artificial intelligence. There's no intelligence. It's artificial, yes, but it's not intelligent like we think of intelligent. At all. It's just, but programs like DALL-E 2, which was created by OpenAI, which is a kind of a nonprofit artificial intelligence research organization funded by a bunch of companies, including Elon Musk. OpenAI is DALL-E 2. Then there's an open source one that's actually is much more interesting to me called Stable Diffusion. You can run it yourself if you have enough horsepower. Stable Diffusion is a good example because it's open source. We know what it, how it's been set up. It's been trained on images on the internet. Millions of images. It just goes out and scrapes these images from everywhere, from Pinterest, from Getty. We even know Getty, which is the big, stock photo site, a lot of times you'll see in the newspaper, in a magazine, on a website, Getty Images. They license an image, famous images, many of them. We know that Getty Images even has been scraped because they put them publicly on the internet, but they put them with a big watermark. You say Getty Images, and you have to buy it if you want to get rid of the watermark. We know that Stable Diffusion has used those images because many of the images come back with a big kind of what looks like a Getty Images watermark across it. Like that's what it learned. Okay. And there are artists, Greg Rutkowski's one, who says, it's learned on all my art. It looked at my website, and now you can say to Stable Diffusion, paint a picture of the Queen of Monrovia as drawn by Greg Rutkowski. And that can be a description. That can be a description. So it's very interesting. Up until recently, you had to apply. There was a waiting list to use DALL-E 2 from OpenAI. Now the waiting list is over. Anybody can apply. And even more, Microsoft this week, among all of its announcements, announced its new Surface notebooks and so forth. It announced it's investing in DALL-E 2 and bringing it to the new Microsoft Designer app, which is, their version of Figma, which just got sold to Adobe for $20 billion. It's going to be part of that. So you can be doing your Microsoft Designer, which you would do to design, I don't know, birthday party invitations or company brochures. And now you can use DALL-E 2. You can say, what I need here is an image of Leonardo DiCaprio sailing to Spain in the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. And then it will make this image. Actually make many of them. You kind of can refine it and get it closer to what you want and then use it. That'll be part of Designer. But even more, in Bing and Microsoft Edge, in Bing Search, there's an image creator tool, and you'll be able to use DALL-E 2. See, to me, this is a very interesting, I think, step forward in artificial intelligence. Here is a thing. Don't get scared. It's not, it's not the Terminator. It's not Whopper. It's not Skynet. It's just a bunch of big computers in the sky that, given text prompts, can generate images. And it is I'm going to say machine learning. I mean, it is, I guess, AI, an example of AI. No intelligence, but it's just got so many images. And it's very important that those images had words associated, right? So what happened is the computer just said, okay, I have this image. I don't know what it is. The computer doesn't know what it is. But they're words, and it goes, well, these words must go to this image. So, okay, keep that in mind. And when you get, that's what's interesting. It's what happened with AlphaGo. It's what happened with Stable Diffusion, with OpenAI's DALL-E 2, is you get enough of these. There's some critical mass, some massive number, millions, billions of these images, and suddenly it can make inferences like a human would be. You know, we infer that since every day, every morning in our whole lives, the sun has come up in the east, that's what's going to happen tomorrow morning. That's an inductive proof, an inference. Because we don't know, but based on past experience. So that's all it's doing. It's inferring. It's an inference engine. I think inference engine would be so much better than artificial intelligence, because that's a scary thing. This thing isn't going to take over the world. It might take over art, though. Wow. Pretty incredible what it's doing. And these images are sort of uncanny and sometimes disturbing and a little weird. So just, if you hear the term, that's what it is. It's not intelligence. It's machine learning. It's learned how to infer stuff and to put two and two together. And they're getting better at it. Interesting, though. We'll talk with Sam in a little bit about smart vehicles. But I think, despite the hundreds of billions of dollars spent now on teaching cars to drive, they're not very good at it. You know why? Humans. We're so unpredictable. 8888, that's the problem. If it were all machines, it'd be easy. 8888, ask Leo. That's the phone number, 888-827-5536. Talk to a human, all right? No artificial intelligence here at all. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Ho ho ho, ho ho ho. Hi, Sam.
Hello, Leo.
Hi. You're in the white space that used to be occupied by Johnny Ive.
Yes.
Is this a car designed by Johnny Ive?
I don't think so, but it might be. You never know.
You never know.
No, this is the Sony
Vision
So2.
Sony.
Yeah,
wow, I didn't know they had cars.
Well, they don't yet. They showed their first concept called the Vision So1 at the 2020 CES. Huh. And then this year they showed off another one. The first one was a sedan. This one's a crossover. And then earlier this year, Sony announced that they were forming a joint venture with Honda to build electric cars.
Nice.
And Honda will be responsible for the vehicle platform and manufacturing, and Sony will be responsible for the software.
Well, there you go.
So what could possibly go wrong?
Possibly go wrong. Wow. Sony is not the first company I'd go to for software.
I mean, they'll also be making a bunch of sensors and electronics and things like that. Right. But they're going to be responsible for the vehicle software.
They're camera people. They certainly know cameras.
Yeah. No. I mean, they know how to make the imaging sensors.
Yeah.
From everything I've read, and I guess they do a good job with their big cameras. Their phone cameras traditionally have not been great. The hardware is good, but the processing.
Well, the Sony Xperias are not, but almost everybody's using Sony sensors, including Apple.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, interesting. Yeah, you're right. The software is not so hot.
And Doug M says the Shonda car.
Oh, Sony Honda. Shonda.
Yeah.
From Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah.
Well, Honda's doing good engines. We know that. They've done very well in Formula One.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be electric, though. So.
Oh, well. That'll be interesting.
It's not coming till 2026. So.
Oh, okay. I'll be dead by then, so it's okay. That's the future. I don't have to worry about the future.
loquacious. Wait till Apple makes a car, one large round button for a steering wheel.
Yeah.
I'll be on TWiT later.
Oh, yes. That's going to be fun. Thank you.
Yeah, with Brianna and Daniel Rubino.
Yay. Going to be good. Going to be good. All right. Well, we'll talk to you in 20 minutes or less. 30, 15, somewhere in between 15 and 30
I'll be here. Whenever you're ready, I'm here.
All right. Thanks, sir. Females are strong. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's time once again to say hello to the person in the booth, in the back, in the corner, in the dark. Kim Schaffer.
I have lovely green lighting.
A phone angel. It's not that dark. It is kind of looks like they don't, you're like in a dark room. You don't want to expose the film or something.
No, don't want to expose.
Don't want to expose the film. Green is the color of the tech guy.
Oh, is it?
Chosen at random from a palette of 3 colors.
Every show's got a different color.
You're right. Every show we do, I don't know how many shows, 10 shows on the podcast network, and everyone has a different color for reasons no one understands.
I would have picked purple, but that's just me.
I think who has purple, John? Somebody else has purple.
MacBook has purple. MacBreak.
MacBreak Weekly is purple. So you can't, yeah.
I can't have purple.
Can't have purple.
Well, green is the color of money, so I'll take it.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
And there's green with envy too. So I'm
but there's no money in radio. But hey, what the hell, We do it for the love of it, don't we?
It's always in our heart and blood.
Blood mostly. Who should we...
Blood, sweat, and tears. Get some of that, Laura.
A lot of tears.
Rusty in San Diego wants to maybe change his cell carrier and ISP and wants your opinion.
Let's just throw them all out and start over.
Just start anew.
Why not? Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
Hello, Rusty. Congratulations to your San Diego Padres making their way. Oh, I have to push this button, don't I? Making their way into the playoffs, through the playoffs. Beating our depending on where you live, beloved or hated Dodgers.
Yes, it is. A thin line.
A thin line between love and hate. So, Rusty, you hate your ISP.
Yes.
And you hate your mobile carrier. Are they the same?
No, they're not the same. And what I'd like to do, Leo, is just not jump into the middle of nowhere. I wanted your opinion on it as to changing so I don't actually cut my nose off to spite my face.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times we do that, don't we? We go, oh, the heck with them. I remember my wife said, oh, the heck with Amazon. I'm not going to use them anymore. And then, it's hard not to. They have, they kind of dominate. So who is your ISP?
My ISP is Spectrum.
Okay. And who is your mobile company?
Verizon.
Okay. Funny, because you could get rid of Spectrum and use Verizon. You're in the same position as your ISP. You're in the same position as almost everybody in the country where you're in a duopoly. Almost everybody in the country, I think it's something like 86% of America, has a choice between 2 companies for their internet, the phone company and the cable company. If you're lucky. In many areas, there's only one.
Verizon does not cover the part of town I live in.
Okay, so Verizon's out.
Yeah.
So, but you do have to, there's only one cable company in almost every part of the world. I don't know how it is in San Diego, but I'm going to guess that Spectrum is the only available cable company.
In this part of town, yes.
Yeah, they have regional monopolies. So and cable is, by the way, of all the ways you can get internet, the best would be fiber from anybody. If they're a good company. Some of this depends on the company, of course, not just the technology. But fiber is the fastest technology. Cable's the next fastest. Then comes often satellite, stuff like Starlink, Elon Musk's Starlink. And then finally at the end is the phone company. If you're going to abandon your cable company and you don't have a fiber option, then you're going to DSL, which is really a worse technology than cable internet. So that may be a case of leaping from the pan into the fire.
I do remember that. Years ago, you recommended DSL Extreme to us, and we used it for a long time until they got real popular and then slowed down.
Yeah, and honestly, they were a sponsor for many years of the show in the early years. All DSL companies have this problem, which is they have to ride on top of the incumbent phone company, in your case, Verizon. And Verizon would much prefer to sell you internet than let these upstarts, DSL Extreme, have to do it. But the FCC said they had to, right? Never happened on cable. FCC never said to cable companies, you've got to share your physical plant, which is too bad, because then we'd have some competition. The cable gets to own both the copper and the internet as well as the TV. They have a monopoly. The phone companies do not. So other companies can ride on Verizon's wires. So that's why phone companies frequently will cut the copper. If they're given half a chance, they will cut the copper going to your house. That eliminates anybody else using their physical plant because they have the only way in. Does Verizon offer fiber in your area? Do you know?
No, we don't have fiber yet.
Okay.
It's close, but it's not here yet.
That would be, and it would still probably be with Verizon, that would be a good alternative. Fiber's fast. It doesn't have a lot of the problem. It doesn't have a lot of the problems DSL has with distance. It doesn't have a lot of the problems cable companies have with too many users. So fiber's often a good choice.
Okay.
Do you know if there's anybody else like Sonic that offers fiber in your area? That would be the next thing.
I couldn't find any online.
Yeah.
I've talked to quite a few neighbors, and most of them have dumped Spectrum. And in this area, Spectrum just has all kinds of trouble. And they've gone with AT&T, and all of them have told me they have not seen a big slowdown.
Okay.
Somebody can be...
That's more a statement of how poor Spectrum has been, because AT&T DSL isn't capable of the speeds that Comcast or that cable is. But maybe Spectrum's so bad it's better. Hang on, we got to take a break. Abuelsamid coming up. We're going to talk cars. Stay here. So that's probably the best way to decide this, is to talk to the neighbors and say, how's it been for you? Is it Uverse AT&T is offering? Is that what they're calling it?
I forget now.
Yeah.
They all just said that the second tier of AT&T was working fine.
Okay. So AT&T has a fiber offering, but probably not in your neck of the woods. If they had the fiber, I'd say go with it. Unfortunately, for most of these, for most users, the AT&T Uverse is DSL. They may be offering something they call ADSL or ADSL2 or ADSL Plus, which is 2 lines, which gives you better speed. So if they are offering that, and Spectrum's terrible, which I'm not surprised to hear. Oh, AT&T is the telco in San Diego. So Verizon, you have Verizon phone. Oh, you have cell phone Verizon.
Yes,
okay, now I understand. So you have cell phone Verizon, you have AT&T as your phone company, probably.
I've had Spectrum do all of it. There are ISP, our cable TV, and our land.
Yeah, they want to own it all, don't they? So if you still have copper coming to your house from AT&T, they may offer, which you must, because your neighbors have it. They must offer a good solution. Do your neighbors say how fast it is? And here's the question: if you're going to replace cable, you're going to want to watch. You're going to want to watch TV on it, like Netflix and stuff, right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So
okay, I'll those speeds on the cell phone. Is it true that all these little companies that have come up are riding the backs of the big ones? In other words, if I switch, am I still going to have the same coverage that Verizon?
Just depends. So many of them are MVNOs. That's somebody who buys Verizon or T-Mobile or AT&T coverage. Straight Talk is an example of an MVNO. Mint Mobile is an example. But then there's U.S. Cellular, which is an actual cell company. But really, there are only a handful of actual cell companies. T-Mobile, Sprint. I'm sorry, Sprint's T-Mobile now. T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, U.S. Cellular. Who are you thinking of going to?
Nobody yet. I'm not happy with Verizon, but I do love their coverage.
Yeah, right. So you'll get similar coverage.
With Straight Talk or somebody like that?
Yeah. There'll be limits on some things because the Verizon proper customers get priority. So on a crowded line, if a lot of people are using it, then you will get deprioritized. But that's really happens rarely. So the nice thing is you can try these guys. Usually they'll give you a 1 or 2 week trial period, and without harm you can say, yeah, it's not working out of my house, or it's not working out at work, and like that.
I will do that.
Yeah.
And on your opening statements today, I got to talk to a real person, not AI.
Aren't you lucky?
Thank you again for your help, Leo.
My pleasure. I'm glad you listened. Thanks, Rusty.
Have a great day.
You too. Take care. Our show brought to you by those great folks at Podium. Love Podium. It's the ultimate text messaging platform, especially for small businesses. Small businesses are competing with these behemoths that have all the technology in the world, and so they can do anything they want. But if you're a small business, sometimes that's tough. You don't have a lot of budget. You don't have a lot of IT department. You don't have a lot of help. I want you to check out Podium. It's been tough for small businesses. Supply chain issues. Suddenly demand goes up. Suddenly goes down. And the problem, I think, for a lot of us comes down to marketing, getting the word out, communicating with our customers. Podium is a way to help your small business stay ahead of the curve with modern messaging tools that your customers love. And that's really important. If you're going to reach out to customers, it has to be in the way they want. And what we found is they don't want calls. They don't want emails. But people like text messages. Maybe that was because of the pandemic. We all got used to things like, your order will be ready, come pick it up in 20 minutes or whatever. We got used to that, interacting with businesses through text messages. Podium makes it easy. So many of us, I'm in this group, hate calling a business. I don't want to call around and find a plumber or talk to different landscapers. A lot of times, they're out on a call, you get voicemail, and then you have to leave a message, and then there's phone tag until the end of the time. Texting works for everybody. You send a quick message, they respond back. It's the easiest way to do it. If you're running a business and all you've got is a phone number, honestly, you're definitely losing customers. Podium gives you the tools to compete with the convenience offered by bigger businesses like Amazon. I love it. I know many of the businesses I do business with in this area use Podium. I left the dentist the other day. I got a text message. Your next appointment is here. And I love this. This is something you might want to do. Did you like your service today? Leave a review on Google or Yelp, what platform you like. Podium will send that out automatically as the customer leaves. There's an ice cream shop. I've mentioned this before. It drives me nuts. If I don't go in there every 3 weeks, I get a text saying, "Hey, we miss you. Here's a 30% off coupon." Oh, it works every time. For healthcare providers to ice cream shops to plumbers, over 100,000 businesses now are texting with customers through Podium. As customers, we love the convenience, but you will love the results. One car dealer used Podium to sell a truck, $50,000 truck, in 4 text messages. Have you noticed that? Dealers are starting to do that. Hey, I've got the car you've been looking for. And you don't want to go in. You go, well, how much? 4 messages, he sold a truck. A jeweler sold a $5,000 ring and coordinated curbside pickup, all through Podium. Text messages. It just turns out that's how people want to interact. It's low pressure, but high efficiency. In fact, text messages get opened at the highest rate of any form of messaging. I think it's something over 90%. With Podium's all-in-one inbox, you can do more than just chat, by the way. You get more online reviews by sending an easy-to-use link. You can collect payments fast from anywhere. You can send marketing campaigns that actually get a response. And it's all by sending a quick text. Your employees will like it because you have one inbox from your website, from Podium, from everywhere. Everything goes into, so they just check one place and they can respond, which means you're responding faster to customers. Another way you win. See how Podium can grow your business. Watch a demo today. I think you'll love it. Podium.com/twit. Podium. Podium.com/twit. Podium. Let's grow. And thank you, Podium, for supporting the tech guy. Please do the same by using that web address, podium.com/twit. It's time to talk to our low-riding car expert, Mr. Sam Abuelsamid. He is principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights. His podcast, Wheel Bearings, is legendary amongst auto enthusiasts. And every week he joins us to talk about something. He's in a white room with a car right now.
I feel like Johnny Ive right now, except
this is fastest car. When is Apple going to make a car?
I have always been skeptical that they would ever actually do it, because it doesn't fit with their business model of going into very high margin businesses. The auto industry has never been a high margin business. It's been profitable, but it's never been the kind of business that could generate 30 to 35 to 40% margins that Apple likes to charge for their products. So I remain dubious.
Okay. And yet we see more and more consumer electronics companies getting into the car business.
We see them getting into the business of making stuff for cars, making software for cars, maybe even doing some manufacturing like Foxconn is going to start to do.
Yeah.
But not necessarily having their own brand. So being contract manufacturers. The car behind me in my white room here is something else entirely. This is a concept that showed up this year at CES. It was the second of two concepts from Sony. They revealed the first one at CES in 2020. This is the second one they did, the Vision So2. The Vision So1 was an electric sedan, and the So2 is a crossover. And when we first saw the original one in 2020, it wasn't at all clear that Sony actually wanted to get into the car business. It seemed like it was more of the car was more of a platform to show off, here's all the different things that we can make for automakers, whether it's their sensors, their display technologies, the electronics, all kinds of other components that we have on there. But a couple of months after CES this year, Honda announced a deal with Sony to form a new joint venture called Sony Honda Mobility Company.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. To build electric vehicles. This week we got some more details on that. Honda made a separate announcement. In one announcement that they did, they announced that they were investing $700 million into some of their plants in Central Ohio, in Marysville, East Liberty, and Anna, to retool assembly plants and powertrain plants to build EVs starting in late 2025, early 2026. And then they also announced that they previously announced a joint venture with LG to build a battery plant. And this week they announced that that plant would be also located about 40 miles southwest of Columbus, near where those other plants are. And that $3.5 billion plant would be in production by early 2026.
Why does Sony want to get in the car business?
That's a really good question, particularly given the nature of how they're going to split the workload with Honda on this. I mean, Sony is obviously, Sony already sells a lot of the imaging sensors, the camera sensors that are used in cars.
Sure.
For your driver assist systems. A lot of those are Sony sensors, just like they sell a lot of sensors to smartphone companies and other camera makers. And they're doing displays, which, cars are having more and more and bigger displays in them. Why they would actually want to form a joint venture and get into the actual manufacturing of the cars is not clear. And it's even stranger now that, this week we heard that Sony Honda Mobility will start production of electric vehicles in Ohio in late 2025, early 2026. Honda will be responsible for the vehicle platform.
Well, that's a relief. Honda at least knows how to make cars.
And Sony will be responsible for, they'll be supplying a lot of components, a lot of the electronics and sensors, but also they'll be responsible for the software platform.
Whoa. Okay. Now that's a little surprising. Right now, believe it or not, BlackBerry is, I think, the dominant software provider for cars with their QNX, right?
For infotainment systems and some instrument clusters and things like that. Yeah, QNX is very widely used, although increasingly a lot of automakers are shifting to various forms of Linux. GM next year is introducing a new software platform called Altify, which is built on top of Red Hat Linux.
Interesting.
But there's also an automotive grade Linux out there.
Isn't Google also a player in the
and Android Automotive? Yes,
yeah.
Is big for the infotainment systems.
And I suspect Apple would like to be a player in that area. Apple knows software, but Sony, I don't think of Sony as a software company.
To the degree that Sony has a reputation for software, it's not a very good one.
Yes,
especially for their phones. I mean, their interfaces for the PlayStations. People love PlayStation, but they don't usually like the software on PlayStations.
Yeah, but that's a gaming machine. I don't think that's
but even on their smartphones, their smartphone software has not been highly regarded over the years. So I'm not really sure what they bring to the table from a software perspective.
Where does Honda sit right now in this area? Do they make smart vehicles? They make some electrics, don't they? Don't they have
no, they don't have any EVs right now. They have several hybrids. Their first new EV is coming out in 2024. They've got two that they're actually building with GM. GM is actually going to be manufacturing them based on their Ultium architecture. The Honda Prologue and the Acura ZDX are coming out in 24, a pair of electric crossovers. And then, I shouldn't say Honda is not building any EVs. They have a couple in Europe, the Honda E, which is, people who have driven the Honda E love it, but it's very small. Too small for the U.S. market. It's smaller even than the Mini Cooper SE that your wife drives. Yeah. People, there's a lot of enthusiasts that would love to have the Honda E in the U.S. market, but it's not coming here because it just would not sell well. But Honda is developing a new electric platform that is supposed to launch, called the appropriate enough, their E platform that is launching in 2026.
Why do you think they're teaming up with Sony then?
To be honest, I really don't. I think the only thing I can come up with is that it costs a lot of money to develop.
Yeah, but Sony's not a rich
shift
company.
over to electric.
Sony's been struggling.
True, but if they can split the costs between them, then it might work out. And maybe as part of a joint venture, Honda gets some preferred pricing on some Sony hardware and some Sony components that they use in both the joint venture vehicles as well as their own, like the displays.
I haven't looked at
that.
Sony's financials in a couple of years, but for a while they were losing so much money that their number one profit center was insurance.
Their insurance, yeah,
in Japan.
Yeah,
and I don't know if that's turned around or not, but they really had tumbled from their years as a giant in consumer electronics.
I think since the launch of the PS5, I think they're in
making money
better shape now, and I think their camera division is also doing pretty well.
I use Sony cameras; they're very, very good cameras. Yeah,
their cameras are very highly regarded.
Yeah,
but the software not so much. So it'll be interesting to watch.
This is why it's a puzzle. It's not for their money. I mean, it's not for their software.
Honda's adding Android Automotive starting next year.
I think it's so they're going with. See, I think it's the brand Sony. I think it's a brand.
It might be.
Yeah. Sam Abuelsamid, listen to his podcast Wheel Bearings, and of course join him here every week. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Leo.
I think it's the brand.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, Sony. The one and only and all that.
Yeah. Hey, maybe they'll start putting Walkmans into new Honda vehicles.
Oh, my God.
Have a little sport Walkman in the dashboard of your Honda?
Sure. Why the heck not?
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Do you wish to stick for the next few minutes and have
I'll stick around for this segment.
Okay.
And then I have some stuff to do before we do TWiT. So,
all right. It's all yours.
All right. So earlier on in the chat, somebody mentioned, I think it might have been redacted, mentioned that their a friend of theirs had just bought a new Subaru in Massachusetts and was disappointed to learn after they purchased it that they could not get the Starlink telematics system enabled. And I think we might have talked about this a couple of months ago. Back, I think last November, or maybe it was the year before, voters in Massachusetts voted in favor of a new right to repair law that requires manufacturers to make their telematics data accessible to third-party service providers, as you know, in order to do diagnostics. Which, you know, to be honest, I was a little dubious of that particular. I'm a big supporter of right to repair, but I was a little dubious about that particular regulation, because, you know, giving more access to connected vehicle services can be problematic from a security standpoint for the vehicle. And the, you know, third-party service providers could already get that data directly, you know, if they had physical access to the vehicle through the diagnostics port. So I was a little dubious about that. But unfortunately, you know, what Subaru's response to this new regulation was they said, okay, from now on, Subaru vehicles sold or registered in Massachusetts will not have access to Starlink's telematics service. So they, or not Starlink, I forget. Starlink is SpaceX, but they won't have access to our telematics service. And so Redacted's friend basically can't get the connected vehicle services in his new Subaru or her new Subaru. And that's an unfortunate response to the regulation. You know, like I said, I think the regulation is a little problematic.
It's kind of gutsy because I think one of the potential risks is that people will stop buying Subarus in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
although I think that is the official state car, so maybe not.
Yeah, I know it is in Vermont and New Hampshire.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about Massachusetts, but they are very popular there. So it is an unfortunate response. I think it would have been better to find another solution to this. See, WebShort says my Honda Clarity plug-in hybrid was a great car. Honda was losing money big time on the Clarity and discontinued it last year. When I sold mine with ultra low mileage, I made $14,000.
Nice.
That's pretty
nice. Good. I feel like I might make money on my Mustang Mach-E if I decide to sell it at the end of the lease.
It could be, yeah. Let's see, Fubang. Well, in fact, one of the things Ford has started doing with their EVs, if you lease a Ford EV now, you no longer have the option to buy it at the end of the lease.
Right. I bought it back when, or I leased it back when I could still get a buyback.
Right. And so you might very well, you know, if you were to buy it, you could probably turn around and sell it for a profit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're just about out of time.
Thank you, Sam. You rock. Have a wonderful afternoon. I'll see you this evening.
Yeah, I'll talk to you in a couple hours.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number. In the break, Sam and I were talking with the chat room about a kind of an interesting story in Massachusetts with Subaru. Massachusetts recently passed a right to repair law. We're big on these right to repair laws because, after all, when you buy a phone or a device or a tractor, you should be able to fix it. It's yours. But a lot of companies lock it out. Apple's famous for that, right? They've changed their tune, but for a long time they fought the right to repair. They said, no, you have to repair it with our own parts, and you can't. So Massachusetts we're very early to pass a right to repair law, but one of the things that they required in the right to repair law has irritated Subaru. In the right to repair, they require that Subaru allow third-party repair shops access to the telematics software. That's the software that runs in your car, not to run the car itself, but to run the entertainment system. If you have OnStar, it would run OnStar, things like that. Subaru calls its telematics Starlink, not to be confused with Elon Musk's Starlink. And Subaru's response to this is to disable the telematics. So if you buy a Subaru in Massachusetts, as one of our chatters did, the dealer disables the telematics, and Subaru's suing over the law, which, by the way, was passed by referendum. It was a voter-approved law. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. You'd have to, Subarus are very popular, I understand, in New England. I have many family members who own Subarus, and I guess they figure, well, more people buy Subarus in Massachusetts even if they don't have the infotainment system. I don't know. If you knew before you bought the car that your infotainment system wouldn't work, you might change your mind. This is one way to put pressure, right, on the government. Furthermore, I have to say, it is possible, it's illegal to disable Starlink because of the right to repair law. So there's a battle shaping up in Massachusetts over this one. You know what? Right to repair is the right thing to do. You buy something, you should be able to fix it. You should be able to get the parts. You should be able to get the information. You should be able to fix it. Subaru's contention is that Starlink safety and security is about your safety. It's got collision notification, remote ignition start, remote door lock and unlock, stolen vehicle location, roadside assistance. It's kind of like OnStar, right? Maintenance notification, vehicle health reports, diagnostic reports. And they think they say no third party should be able to mess with that. Well, we'll see. That's going to be an interesting battle. I can see both sides on that, actually. That's interesting. Let's go to Thousand Oaks. Lynn is on the line next on the Tech Guy Show. Hi, Lynn.
Hi. Great to speak with you, Leo. I've listened to you for a long time.
Wonderful. It's great to hear you. Thanks for calling.
I have a question. On one of your shows, you brought up that you back up all your files to iCloud and to Google Drive.
Photos,
yes.
Yes, yeah.
They do encrypt it. So all my tax information that I backed
you do not want to back that stuff up, because while it's encrypted in transit, and maybe even encrypted in place, both Google and Apple have access to it. We know this because
I've already done that.
Yeah. Well, so all of that stuff is available to employees at those companies, and we know that because they do a variety of things. Google will scan Google Drive, for instance, for as I believe Apple will as well, for child sexual abuse material. You'd want them to do that. They don't want to store it. If it were truly encrypted, they could not do that. So my advice with very important stuff that you don't want anybody to see. By the way, I'm sure you're safe. No Apple employee or Google employee is going to snoop through people's files. If they do, not only would they get fired, they'd get prosecuted immediately. But the possibility exists. And I should point out, anytime you put something on the internet, which is what the cloud is, there's always the risk that will get stolen. So remember, a lot of celebrities some years ago had pictures on Apple's iCloud stolen and released to the public, and it was very embarrassing. Now, you can't really fault Apple for this because it was a hack, but nevertheless, that's the risk. So my advice, if you're going to put anything with, for instance, an address and social security number in it, like your tax returns, is to encrypt it before you upload it.
So what I'm trying to do is pull the stuff out of Google that I did, and then what software would be best to use it to encrypt it?
Well, like I said, anytime you're putting in the internet, there's a risk, unless it is encrypted it in such a way that it can't be exfiltrated. We know that Apple's iCloud, for instance, they'll hand over information to law enforcement, as will Google. I mean, there's a whole bunch of evidence that they don't encrypt that if somebody properly asks for it. But you can encrypt it before you upload it, and this is what I would suggest. There are a couple of services that are fully encrypted from end to end. But there's one called Tresorit, Tresorit. But because they do that, it's much more limited in what you can do with it. I would suggest much better you've got your tax returns on the drive on your Mac. I would suggest running an encryption tool on it and then letting it back up. Now, the encryption is in your hands, not Apple's hands. And so if it were stolen or they handed it over, or an employee wanted to look at it, they couldn't because you have encrypted it. It's my friend Steve Gibson, our security guru, calls it pre-internet encryption, or PI. And there are lots of little tools you can use to encrypt your files locally. You're on a Mac or an iPhone?
Both.
Yeah. So I wouldn't put it on. I'll be honest. I would not put it on a phone. Because that is in effect putting it on the internet. Phones are online at all times, and they are hackable. So I wouldn't do that. But Apple has built-in encryption. You can right click on the file and say encrypt it. Well, actually, that's for the whole disk. Yeah, but when you upload it, it doesn't. So you need to get a third-party program. I'm sorry, because Apple's encryption is what we call full disk encryption, so I apologize. That's File Vault. You should certainly have that turned on, but this is so complicated. When you log into your Apple, in order for you to use your computer, it unlocks the File Vault. All your stuff is now available to you. It's not encrypted, obviously, or you wouldn't be able to use it. When that is now uploaded to iCloud as is, not encrypted. So it's not encrypted when it gets to iCloud. So there isn't a built-in file encryption. They're just full disk encryption. You should certainly use that. That way, if you give away or sell the computer or it gets stolen, it's no good to anybody. But I would then use an additional file encryption tool. One way to do this is with its preview. Apple's preview app does encryption. So you can open and you're probably using PDFs for your tax returns anyway, right? Yeah. So I think you can you can make an encrypted PDF with Apple's preview, which is, that would be good enough. That would certainly what I would do if you're storing tax documents, any things that you really don't want the world to see. I would encrypt those locally. You could put them on a backup disk locally that's encrypted. That would be another way to do it. But when you upload it to the cloud, good. But uploading it to the cloud, you really got to remember, encrypt before you upload if it's something private. There are a number of third-party tools you can buy. WinZip will do it on a Windows. Preview will do it on a Mac. I would suggest doing that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Unfortunately, a lot of services that use iCloud for backup, like if you're using, I guess somebody's saying TurboTax, it will back it up to iCloud unencrypted. So, I mean, it's probably safe to trust Apple. I'm not saying you shouldn't trust Apple, but if you really got something you don't want somebody to see, there are Mac Keeper. There are a lot of programs that will do. If you search for Mac OS file encryption, there are programs that will do this. I would not put it on your phone. That's not a secure place to put it, I don't think.
I'm just getting real nervous because of all the scams and hacks out there that I'm getting Amazon scams. I'm
constant.
DHL scams.
Yep. And that's why I'd be careful about the iPhone. Most of those come through text messages on the phone, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the risk of putting stuff on your phone. Yeah.
I have a VPN on my phone.
Good for you.
That matters.
Doesn't help.
The one you
doesn't help.
Okay.
Good, yeah. But it doesn't help in some cases because if you're transmitting the file or a bad guy gets into your phone and is transmitting the file, he has full access to it. You have full access to it. It's just
because I allowed him in. Yeah.
Yeah. So the phone is a bad place to put anything you really want to keep secure.
Okay. What I do is anything I want secure, I put them in notes and then lock it.
That's a good start. I have to see if Apple's Notes, if that's using strong encryption. So just because you can lock something doesn't mean it's fully encrypted. So let me just look and see. You want something, if you want it to see the word AES encryption, or RSA encryption. Secure features in notes. Let me look here what Apple's using for their encryption. Yes, good. When a user secures a note, a 16-byte key is derived from the user's passphrase using PBKDF2. That's the correct thing to do. And SHA-256, that's the correct thing to do. And it's encrypted using AES. That's strong encryption. So there you go. I use
that for all my passwords.
Perfect.
You know?
Yeah, and Apple's keychain is secured the same way. Apple's keychain is secure, so you can use keychain as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, this is good to know. You know what? Thanks for asking about that. Yeah, I'm seeing Apple did the right thing here. There is a lot of pressure from people for Apple to properly encrypt files on iCloud. They're really reluctant to do that because then they would have to tell. It's troubling. Law enforcement doesn't want them to do that, right? Because law enforcement can subpoena them, and so Apple is caught between a rock and a hard place. They would love to be able to say to law enforcement, "Hey, we can't help you; it's encrypted." And for a while, there was a move at Apple to do that, but I think they're reluctant. I don't think they want to. They don't want to get in that PR battle.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Hey, good question. Thank you. I appreciate it, Lynn. It's complicated, but it's the right question to be asking, and I'm glad you're doing that. Absolutely the right questions. Yeah, they wanted to do that, and that's why they were doing that client-side CSAM. Exactly. That's exactly right, Evil IRC. That was the rumor. I think, governments call them and say, you better not do that. And if you do, we're going to go to the press and say Apple is supporting terrorists and child pornographers. It's a bad look. Yeah, but you can actually secure PDFs in the preview. So you secure them in preview, or put them in your notes and secure it. Yeah, that's a very good way to do it. Yeah, I'm really happy to see Apple does secure notes the right way. Very good. Yeah, what's going on, huh? With iPad OS 16 and Mac OS Ventura. Mike B's going to win his bet. You're going to get a case of crabs from me, Mike. Sorry. We have a bet. He says that Apple will not do a public event. By the way, all the rumor mills say that too. I say, why would Apple pass up this opportunity? Yeah, matter of days, which could be this week. I think it's going to be next. I think Mark thinks it's going to be the 24th, but we shall see. 24th or 25th. Apple's quarterly results are the 27th on Thursday. Well, that's not true. What do you mean nothing left to present? There's quite a bit left to present. Mac Minis on the M2, MacBook Pros, possibly iMacs, a new Apple TV. I mean, there's lots to present. A new iPad, a new iPad Pro, new iPad Pros. Well, you send me a case of lobsters, I'll send you a case of crabs. I think that was the bet, wasn't it? Or am I confused? Apple has at least as much to announce as Microsoft announced last week. Of course, they didn't have an event, did they? They just released a video at a prescribed time. That's probably what Apple ended up doing. Give iJustine a bunch of stuff. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. It's time to talk about digital stuff. Computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. Chris Marquardt, our photographer's coming up in a bit. Are you participating in Chris's assignment? Mysterious. Good time of year to take pictures of mysterious things. We'll also talk about smartwatches. I've got the new Apple smartwatch Ultra, but Google announced its smartwatch, the Pixel Watch, this week. A lot of reviews starting to come in on the Pixel Watch. Actually, that was last week, wasn't it? But people are getting their Pixel Watches this week, and the reviews are out. I have a Pixel 7 here. We could talk about that. Very nice. Very nice, the new Google phone. Google struggles because while they make nice phones, this is nicer yet even than the Pixel 6, which was excellent. They've solved a lot of the little issues that the Pixel 6 had. They just can't make much headway against Samsung and Apple for some reason. I don't know if it's maybe they can't, maybe the stores don't recommend them. You know, if you don't, in the U.S., if you don't get the cellular companies pushing your device, it's very hard to sell it. That's why Huawei pulled out of the market. They said once they had a deal with Verizon a couple of years ago, U.S. Commerce Department said, don't buy Huawei. They're Chinese. And so Verizon dumped them. And Huawei said, fine, we can't sell it in the U.S. then. We're not going to spend any marketing money on a phone you can't buy at the phone store. That's how people get their phones, I guess. Microsoft did the same thing. They had a little phone, cute little phone called the Kin. I liked it. It was kind of more for kids. I think it was Verizon that sold it, but I guess even though Verizon had it on their product list, you'd go into a Verizon store, there'd be nowhere to be seen. The salesperson would say, no, you don't want that phone. 3 months later, Microsoft throws in the towel. So it may well be that you know, Galaxies and iPhones sell well because that's what the phone stores push in the U.S. And maybe why the Pixel, which is a very credible phone, and $899. It's less than the iPhone and the Samsung flagships. That's a good price, and they still don't sell that well. I think Google said that over the past 5 years they've sold 27 million phones. That's how many phones Apple sells in 3 months, or Samsung. 8888 Ask Leo. We answer questions about any of that technology stuff. If you've got a question, comment, or suggestion, Jody's on the line from Huntington Beach, California. Hi, Jody.
Hi.
Welcome.
Leo.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
C'est moi. What can I do for you?
Well, I have MSN for my email, and I haven't been receiving any for about 3 days.
Uh-oh.
And on my iPhone, on my Android phone, tablet, and my computer. And 2 days so the day before
Oh, she's dropped the phone, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're not driving.
I'm not. I'm pulling over right now.
Good.
So,
I don't want you to get in trouble.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I know. The day before I stopped receiving my email, I got something from allegedly from Microsoft.
Uh-oh.
And I'm going to read it to you right now.
Okay.
And, it said to do something.
I bet you was from Microsoft, but of course you want to be very careful. You're quite rightly suspicious. But Microsoft has moved MSN Mail to Outlook.
Okay.
So it's now Outlook.com.
Oh. So yesterday I installed Outlook to see if that would help.
Well, you have to set it up.
Okay.
So the question I have for you is, do you use the web mail interface for MSN? Do you use your browser to access your email?
Yes.
Okay. So you've gone to MSN.com, logged in there, and you don't see any new email.
No.
One thing to try is send yourself some email.
I did.
And it doesn't go through.
It says it's full.
It's full.
That's what it says.
Well, how about that? Okay.
But it's not.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Look in the trash. You know, the trash counts.
Mm-hmm. I counted the trash. Yeah.
Empty the trash.
Yeah.
What do the instructions in the email say?
It says,
I am a Nigerian prince and I want to give you $56 million.
Yeah, it says Microsoft statement. Verify your identity to keep your account active.
Yeah, that sounds suspicious.
Yeah, and then there's wait. If I go to the sender and I click on that, it says it's from info@unicrowd.ai.
There you go. Throw that out.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be, if Microsoft sent you that email, it wouldn't be from unicrowd.ai. So I am, first of all, golf clap for you, because you did exactly the right thing. It's like, well, who sent this? And you see these, 6439 at gmail.com, and you go, yeah, that's not Microsoft. So ignore that. That's spam. And you didn't do anything, right?
No.
You didn't respond to it. Yeah, that's just an attempt to hack you. We're all getting so much of that right now.
Okay.
And so normally you don't use Outlook or another mail program to get this. You're not using Apple Mail or anything like that. You go to the website to get your mail.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think... So first of all, if that message were real, when you try to log in, not through the message, that's where they're trying to get you. They're trying to get you to click a link in the message. And there, lo and behold, is your MSN login, and you enter your account. And it's not really that. It's just getting your password. But if you go to msn.com and you log into your mail, and it doesn't say, oh, you need to update or something, then that's just bogus. No. So you knew that was bogus. But I am worried that it says you've run out of room.
Well...
You know, if you don't, do you pay for MSN?
No, I don't.
Yeah. Out of space does happen on email programs. Microsoft gives you free, well, they do for Outlook 15 gigabytes, which is a ton of mail. I'm not sure what MSN gives you. It might be less than that. So if your storage is full, first thing to do is empty the trash. You did that. They call it the deleted items, but that's the same thing. Maybe delete more.
Also.
Yeah, you did that. So you deleted a lot of stuff, and you still are running out of space.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're not paying for a service, you can't really expect to call them and say it's broken.
Right.
So there's one thing you can do that you might try that might solve this, which is to migrate your MSN account to Outlook.com, which is their more modern everything. That's what they want you to do. They've wanted you to do that for some time. Your email address at MSN will not stop working.
Mm-hmm.
So you still, you don't have to tell everybody, oh, I have a new address, but you'll have just a new interface. And I wonder if that might give you more space. So, they've gone through, was Hotmail and,
sure.
And it was Live. It's gone through a bunch of names. And I think Microsoft wants everybody to move to Outlook. So that might be the thing to do. I'm looking to see how you can convert MSN email to Outlook, because that's what you want to do. I don't know if there's, So sign into the MSN client. Go to Help Settings. Click on Settings. Click on Email. Oh, no. Oh, it looks like, okay. Click on Import or Export. Oh, this seems complicated. Then copy the email. Then save your MSN email. Oh, I guess this is just a backup. Now you can say, oh, no, this is terrible. There's no way to migrate this? They don't give you a way to do this? I guess not. Thank you, Microsoft. So I take it back. They don't want you to go to Outlook, or maybe they just want you to go away. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to this, honestly. Okay. You've deleted as much mail as you feel you can, and it's still saying there's no room.
Right. And I can't send out from it either.
Oh,
it
wow.
doesn't go.
And again, you're using the web address, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. So one other thing you could do, something in the chat room's telling me this, and that seems like a good thing to check anyway. If your mail has been hacked, check the RSS subscriptions folder. Sometimes they put a rule in there to forward mail so you don't see it. You want to make sure there's no rules in there modifying your email filtering. You don't, and have you checked for big attachments like large files? If somebody sent you a 10 gigabyte file, that would give you it would just be one email with a giant file. Look at your attachments too.
And I just silly little emails. I don't get anything.
This is frustrating. I honestly don't know what to tell you. I don't know of a fix for this because I'm not sure what's going wrong.
Yeah, I'll keep looking around.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. If somebody knows, give us a ring. We want to help Jody out. Jody, I'm a big bust here. I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. I just don't know what's going on. Microsoft, I guess, still maintains MSN. You know, we get a lot of people very frequently with, I'll be kind, I'll call them legacy email accounts to MSN or AOL or Hotmail, Earthlink. And the world has kind of moved on from these. And I think most people have kind of moved on as well to, unfortunately, they've just moved on to the next MSN, which is Microsoft's free Outlook or Google's Gmail. Those are the two most popular emails in the world. Used to be Yahoo, but that's also kind of become legacy, right? And honestly, if email's, I know you don't want to pay for email because you can get it free in so many places, but that's part of the problem is these companies, it's free. So A, they're not going to support you, and B, they're probably not, their heart isn't in it. So the software's not so up to date. So when you get older stuff like MSN, I feel like it's try logging in with your MSN account to Outlook.com. That's maybe the next thing to try, Jody. Outlook is the modern Microsoft email, and it's Outlook.com, and it's free as well. And I wonder if maybe your MSN mail isn't just sitting there. You can access your MSN mail account from a desktop, like the Apple Mail program or, the Microsoft Live Mail program. I don't know what Microsoft calls it anymore. So you can get desktop email. You might try that as well. I'll put a link in the show notes to how do you set up your desktop email. I'm wondering what's going on. And I just don't know. I think it's got to be related to the fact that Microsoft has moved on from the legacy platform. If somebody knows, boy, give us a ring. 8888 Ask Leo is a phone number. 888-827-5536. I hate striking out like that. I just don't know what's going on. Why it sounds like you got plenty of room. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More trouble with email. I think a lot of that comes from the fact that people are using these free email accounts. You should really pay for email if you care about it. Hello, Chris Marquardt.
Hey, Leo. How is our connection today?
It's okay. It does sound a little different. Okay? What's going on?
Oh, it looks different. It sounds different. My main workhorse iMac Pro has died just a few days ago. So I'm on an emergency setup right now. It's wired to the...
Yeah, it's working. It's not as pretty.
I know.
I can see your room.
All I can do at this point.
No, it's fine.
All I can do at this point.
It's fine. I'm sorry your computer died. That sucks.
Yeah. I'm waiting for a replacement.
Oh, good.
Well, not a replacement. I'm waiting for an M2.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Get a studio.
No, it's a MacBook.
Or a MacBook. That's fine. Yeah, that's what I would do because
and a display. Yeah, it's
they're so much faster.
The days of the fixed desktop are over.
Yeah, I retired my iMac Pro because it wasn't, even though at the time that was the thing. But it wasn't.
It was a good machine as it lasted. But this is like bye-bye Intel.
Yeah,
I guess at this point. So we'll have to do it this way for this week and next week. It'll take them 2 weeks to deliver. So
yeah. Okay, we'll talk in a minute.
You have an email, by the way, just as a backup link in case something goes wrong.
I shall pull it up.
We'll talk light again as we do every.
I like light.
3-4 months.
I like light. Light is good.
And we'll shed a new light on the topic of light a little bit.
Good. All right. We'll talk soon.
See you.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Kev Brewer in our Discord, who lives in the UK, said something kind of surprising. He says, interesting here, U.S. folks suffering from endless spam emails and texts. Here in the UK, it's far less of an issue. I didn't, so the FCC, we talk about this from time to time, and it's probably worth mentioning it again. The FCC has a framework for getting rid of spam robocalls and spam phone calls, and I hope spam texts as well. The framework is called Stir and Shaken, and the FCC has been laggard in enforcing it because of the, I'll tell you why. You want to know why? They have their own reasons, but I'll tell you why. Because the phone companies make money on this junk, and so they're moving very slowly. As slowly as they possibly can because the phone companies, and the FCC have a, shall I say, a close relationship. So the FCC is finally booting off some sources of a lot of the problems. These small carriers who don't even have a building. The ones that, frankly, the bad guys use. And so I'm hoping, and I've been hoping in vain for many years, that finally this scourge of spammy phone calls. I haven't gotten a lot of your car warranties expiring calls lately. Have you? Those seem to be dying off. They're now moving to text, and I suspect this is why. I really think it's the FCC. Finally cracking down on the originating companies, mostly almost all overseas, a lot of them in the Caribbean that are the source of these robocalls. Now I want them to crack down on the texts. Now, in the U.S., I don't know what it's like in the U.K., the First Amendment protects politicians from spamming you. So you will not get fewer robocalls as we approach an election, a midterm election here next month. You will not get fewer texts. You're going to get a lot of those. I've been getting a lot of political solicitations. They can't stop those. They're protected. But you shouldn't get as many solicitations to get your auto warranty fixed or to buy a timeshare in Miami or anything like that. Let's hope. Let's hope. They're starting to move on this one. Let's go to, do I have time? Now I think I've spoken too long, and I'm not going to have time to get to you, Rocco. But hang on, we will talk to Rocco and Mike, both on the line, both on hold. Between now and then, however, Chris Marquardt is here to talk mysteriously. That's his photo assignment. And we will also talk about light, because that's what really photography of all kinds is all about. I have, I don't know what camera phone Chris is using these days, but as I mentioned, I just got the Pixel 7. I'll show him some pictures from the Pixel 7. I'm really, really pleased with this. DxO Mark just said it's the best camera phone. I think the Pixel 7, the iPhone 14 Pro, and the Samsung 22s are all about the same. They're all pretty darn close. You get great images with any of them. But I think it's only a matter of time before these become the dominant camera platforms. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Let's all just move to England. The problem is, Kev, you've got Liz Truss. So you may not have spam messages, but you have Liz Truss. So that's interesting. You don't get political spam either. First Amendment. Yeah, you may not have Liz Truss for long. Wow. She's on her way to being the shortest-lived prime minister in British history, I think. Or close to it, anyway. Yeah, I think the camera is really good, I have to say, in the Pixel. Let's see here if I have some more images. It's taken, for some reason, Google Photos starts with a low-res image. That's not the actual image. I don't know why it's so low-res. There, that's a higher res. That's from the wide angle. This was pretty, I have to say, this was pretty dark. This is not lit. So this is yesterday, John at the console in Studio A. So that is not very well lit. That's a dark little corner. And you can see it's done a lot of brightening. Look underneath the desk here. I guess if I pull this down, you can see that. You can see what's under the desk. Let's see. Here's a kitty cat. That was telephoto. This is wide again. It's got a nice telephoto. This is, let's see. It should tell me here. This is from the, what does it say? You can't, I don't know what 6.81 millimeters means. I think this is the normal lens. I think this is the one, what they call the 1X, and this is the 2X. Really nice, very good detail. Here's a photo that was really tricky of a Day of the Dead altar, and it was in, this half was in bright sunlight, and this half was in shadow, but it did a pretty good job of evening that out, I thought. I took that because I knew it would be a tough picture to take. But what I didn't do is take these same images with the iPhone, I'm sorry to say. So I don't have a comparable. I'm very happy, though, with not only the Google stuff is very crisp, maybe even over-sharpened, but the color is very good. The white balance is very good. There seems to be good detail. This is an example of the zoom. So this was the wide of a tree in our backyard. That's the 1X. That's the 2X. That's the last optical zoom, I think, the 10X. And then this is digital. And you can see it gets quite smeary by the time I think that's 30. I can't remember it's pretty good. It's let's see, 0.5, 1, 2, and 5. But when you go to 5, then you get a slider that lets you zoom in. I don't know, if we pixel peep, the detail even on this zoomed in one is pretty good. It's a little smeary. All right, let's do a show. Mock Show. This episode of The Tech Guy brought to you by Shopify. One thing, my daughter, who is an aspiring comedian, goes to a lot of open mic nights. And one of the things I love about the open mic night is it gives everybody an equal opportunity, right? That's, in fact, one of the things I love about being a comic, for instance. Anybody can do it. And it's merit-based. It's completely democratic. It's open to all. That's also the thing I love about, get ready for this one, Shopify. In fact, Abby uses Shopify to sell her merch. Shopify is an all-in-one commerce platform that makes it simple for anyone to start, run, and grow a successful business. Oh, there you go, another Shopify sale. Every minute, new sellers around the globe are making their first sale with Shopify. I got to tell you, I know from many people I know who use Shopify, there's a great feeling. When you go to all this work, you put up a store, you get some, you figure out what you're going to do, and that first sale, it's like putting the first dollar on the wall of your store. That first sale is so important. Every minute, new sellers around the world are making that very first sale on Shopify. You could showcase your unique vibe with Shopify. It's actually really easy to set up a store. They'll help you discover new customers and grow your own following, and it keeps coming back. That's how you build a successful business. It doesn't matter what your business is, whether your thing is vintage, teas, or recipes for ghee, or as my daughter sells, T-shirts with extraterrestrial themes on them. Start selling with Shopify and join the platform simplifying commerce for millions of your favorite businesses worldwide. My son uses Shopify too, come to think of it. With Shopify, you connect with your customers. You sell in multiple places. That's not just the web, but Mobile, social media, online marketplaces, brick and mortar locations, pop-up shops, everywhere in the world. And drive sales with marketing made simple. Shopify has all the sales channels sorted to keep your business growing, from an in-person point of sale system to an all-in-one e-commerce platform, even across social media platforms. TikTok, really a great place to use Shopify. Facebook, of course, Insta. Manage your day-to-day with Shopify's single dashboard across all of those platforms, where you can manage orders, shipping, and payments, and you can do it from anywhere, even from your phone. And Shopify instantly lets you accept all major payment methods. Shopify, they've got an endless list of integrations, really nothing you can't do with Shopify. Third-party apps, everything you can think of. On-demand printing, Abby uses that. Accounting, chatbots, everything you need to customize your business to your needs is already in your hands with Shopify. With 24/7 support and free libraries full of educational content, Shopify's got you every step of the way. Whether you're ready to launch your business into the spotlight, when you're ready to do that, do it with Shopify. Get right up on the stage there. Say, I am here, world. Check it out. The commerce platform that backs millions of businesses, both down the street and around the globe. It's more than a store. Shopify grows with your business. Go on, try Shopify. You can do it for free. Start selling anywhere. You'll be amazed how easy it is. Sign up for that free trial. Shopify.com/twit. That's all lowercase. SHOPIFY.com/twit. TWIT. Shopify.com/twit. Start selling online today. It's a very satisfying moment when you get that first Shopify sale. Shopify.com/twit. And now back to the tech guy. Mama, don't take my Kodachrome, baby. I love the film, and so does this guy right here, film camera expert Chris Marquardt. He does a little digital, too, I might add. He's my photo sensei at sensei.photo. Joins us every week to talk about photography. Hi, Chris.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going great. Welcome to the Tech Guy Show. You wanted to talk about light?
A little bit of digital.
I
want to talk about light. I want to talk about light because we do this here 3 times a year, 4 times a year, because it is the essence of photography. Light is key in photography. So this time around, I want to give you a few, let's say, attributes that light has that might help you in the future if you take pictures and if you look for interesting light. And they're 4 very simple things. The first one is intensity. Light sources determines the brightness of the light source. The second is the direction of the light source. So that determines where the shadows fall, how strong textures come out, how nice a portrait might look. Third attribute is the size of a light source. A bigger light source casts different shadows than a smaller light source. So if you look at the sun, that's a small light source, casts very harsh shadows. If you are lit by like a bright wall, that is a big light source that reflects light, then you end up with really soft shadows. You can see this in studio photographers. They have these big soft boxes. They're called soft boxes because they make soft shadows because they're big light sources. And the fourth, we have intensity, direction, size, and color. Color is the fourth one. Of course, light throughout the day, the sun changes color. In the evening and the morning, you have this nice warm golden light, and then during the noon hours, it's more on the cool side. And if it's overcast, it tends to be more cool. So intensity, direction, size, and color. And with that, I want to just look at a few pictures and talk about them, because all these pictures have one thing in common. I think they have really interesting light. Here's one by Rennet Stowe. And what are we actually looking at? This is trending light, Mammoth Hot Springs, Yellowstone National Park. So what we're looking at is one of those so let's try to determine a few things here. First of all, color of the light, right? Color as an important attribute. It's very warm, and you can see the sun is setting right back there behind the clouds there. So it's warm, low sunlight, which informs like where shadows fall and things. So
I always feel like photos like this are too good. They're Photoshop. They're paintings.
No, Not really. I mean, this one of a mountain by Dan L. 2011. This is one of those shots that Dan might have cranked up the colors just a little bit to intensify the saturation a bit. But what we're seeing here is a scene in the mountains. The sun is setting, so you get these glowing tops of the mountains. And here we see a very interesting phenomenon. Do you see this face, this snowy face that is really brightly lit? The snowy face of the side of the mountain, that is reflecting light up into the clouds. So you see that
it's so bright.
Glow you see in the cloud is a reflection from the snow on the side of the mountain.
Cool. Yeah.
And you can see how soft that is in the sky because it's a big light source that is pretty much illuminating it. And the warm color does its thing. So
this was taken with a Nikon Coolpix. A P1000
totally.
Point shoot. Wow.
If you find amazing light, the camera is totally secondary. Here's one that I found really intriguing. It's a long corridor, an old building, might be an old European hospital or something. And you have all these different light sources coming in through the windows that are they look like they have shutters in front of them. So you have these streaks of light against the ceiling. You have light streaks coming in through the doorways on the right-hand side. It's a long exposure, and that is just simply interesting light.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Whenever
also with a point
light,
shoot, by the way, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's a nature scene. I like so we're seeing flowers in the foreground. Something in the foreground is always a good idea in a photo. And then the clouds make a really interesting light because, well, they make an interesting feature in the photo, but also they help the light to be a bit more diffuse and not as straight on from the sun.
Bonnie Moreland, who took the picture, does note that she waited 3 hours at this spot for the sun to go down for the light. And if you want perfect light, sometimes you need a lot of patience.
If you're a nature photographer, you will wait for things like this, for example. What we see is a silhouette of clouds in the sky, the sun setting behind them. You don't see the sun really, but what you see is these light streaks that the sun creates. And it's not just a silhouette of a cloud, but do you see this little streak of light around the edges, tracing the edge of the silhouette,
like a little rainbow almost. Yeah, it's pretty.
So this is what we call edge light, and we use this in portraits as well. You put a light source behind.
Usually it's on people's hair.
It's called hair light or shoulder light or rim light. That's a nice method, and of course that combined with the warm sunset,
it's really pretty. Really pretty. Yeah.
And that's worth waiting for. For unless you have like a bored family with you that might not appreciate it.
Yeah, Bonnie did thank her husband for his patience.
Here's an interesting one, a black and white shot of, I don't really know what that is. It looks like a stairway from below, but the sun seems to shine in there, and it creates all these weird geometric streaks of light. So you end up with, again, interesting light that you don't see every day. I have trained myself on getting an itchy finger when I see these kind of weird light situations, and I have to take photos. It's something that I can't help.
It's very geometric. You do have to have an eye, otherwise you just walk past this stuff. You have to know.
Yes,
you have to kind of be looking for it.
You have to train yourself. And again, interesting sky balloon in there. The reflection does make it even more interesting, but the light itself, again, it's a very it's an interesting mixture of flat light and interesting features, and the balloon is lit by a more direct light source, so it looks like the sun is catching the balloon, which kind of sticks out this way. So it's a mixture of different lights. So
this is a heck of a picture. Wow.
All that all that comes down, all these pictures come down to intensity of light, direction of light, the size of the light source, and the color of the light source. Those four things, intensity, direction, size, and color, are pretty much the basis of light and whenever I look at a scene, those are kind of the four things that I'm looking for. Is there an interesting direction? Is something in the scene lit intensely and might stick out in an interesting way? Is the light source tiny? Does it make hard shadows, or is it a big light source that makes very soft shadows?
It spells disc. Direction, intensity, source, and color.
You found the acronym. I was looking for one.
It's
that
disc.
would work.
That's good, right? That makes it easy to remember. Yeah.
The
Direction,
disc system.
intensity,
there we go.
source, and color. It's Chris Marquardt's disc system.
There we go.
I'll give it to you.
Can I have that? Can I have that?
You can have that. It's all yours. It's really great to play with light. Of course, on a radio show, you can't see the light, but what we will do is put the pictures up on the show notes, a link to them. It's a Flickr slideshow, and so you can see them all. And I think when you see them, every one of them is a work of art. And it's all about the light. It's all about the light. The word of the month, mysterious. Get your mysterious pictures in, upload them to Flickr, tag them TG Mysterious, and Chris will be reviewing them in a couple of weeks. Leo Laporte, the tech guy with Chris Marquardt. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Boom. Nice, beautiful images. It's funny, 2 of them were done with 5Ds, and 3 of them were done with point and shoots.
Yeah, I mean, as you showed in the segment before, some of the smaller sensors, if you zoom in, you might see some artifacts, but who cares?
Who cares?
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, you really, like somebody in the chat room said, don't crop the cool pics photo. Yeah, but also a lot of these were very wide, 16 millimeters for the first 2.
Oh yeah, some of them, yes. I mean, if you want to have an interesting foreground, being more wide angle helps.
Yes.
You can place a subject or an auxiliary subject in the foreground, and then give the picture a bit more interest, like the flowers in the nature shot, for example.
Right, Bonnie's picture. Yeah, I love that hair light on the mountains. That's
again, if I really get antsy if I see something like that, because I'll have to stop the car. I have to get out.
It's a shot. I see a shot.
You know, light situations. I used to be like, hey, it looks interesting, but I'll find something like that at another time.
Yeah.
But more often than not, those are unique. Those don't just come back. So you have to take the opportunity of an interesting light situation.
Time and place. Yeah.
Take that picture when you can, because it's not going to come back in the same way.
Yep. Hey, great stuff. Thank you, Chris. You'll be here next week?
I'll be here next week.
See you then.
See you then. Take care. Bye.
Back again. Dear, oh dear. That is hysterical. Yeah, Charles might end up being fun just because he doesn't seem to have as much of a filter, not having sat on the throne for all of his 70-some years. That's his... Back again. Dear, oh dear. Now what? Ms. Truss. Now what? Oh, Lord. Oh, my. Yeah, the digital zoom, I agree with you. Both these cameras, John Gerard is saying, don't necessarily say, oh, I can't use digital zoom. Both these cameras do so much computational stuff that a small amount of digital zoom is not bad. I agree with you 100%, John. Yeah. Music doesn't disappoint, does it? So many things in this world disappoint. Twitter, Elon Musk, government, but music never disappoints. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I guess that's why we need it in our lives, huh? 8888, ask Leo. I guess some music disappoints, and sometimes the tech guy disappoints, but I hope you aren't disappointed, Rocco, that I had to put you on hold for another 15 minutes. Thank you for being patient. Rocco from Valencia. Hello. Welcome.
Well, there we go. Can you hear me? There you go.
I hear you great. Welcome.
Well, that's a good thing I hold on here. I'm in front of a Starbucks. I said, he's got to come on sometime.
I'm so sorry. You're sitting there, your mouth is watering, you're looking at those fine beverages. I need to go in. All right, well, it's your turn, and then you can go get a coffee.
Okay, there you go. All right, very quickly. I think we've spoken before, and this is in regards to matching your photo, or getting rid of the duplicates in your photos, and then merging the two libraries I have together. And I've been procrastinating because of the fact that it's time consuming. And I think you told me before about the getting rid of the duplicates. But I'm calling back in to ask you again, what's the easiest way, or is there an easy way to get rid of it?
There's no good, easy way, but there are ways. So Windows or Mac, first of all?
That's a Mac. I'm not Pro. I got the top of the line.
So Apple has within its photos a duplicate detection and removal solution. I'm not sure it's the best. I would actually recommend a program, not free, but it does well, called Gemini. Gemini 2 is the current version. I think it's, unfortunately, it's falling for the same. Yeah, it's from Marquardt, M-A-C-P-A-W. Falling for the same, I'm sorry to say, lure that a lot of software is. It's a subscription. But that's good in some ways because you can just buy it for the year and then you get rid of the duplicates. You don't want to be too aggressive in getting rid of duplicates. I think, some of us are a little OCD, and generally with a computer, you don't want to be OCD because, storage space is cheap, and you can have a pretty massive library in a terabyte easily, have it fully backed up, have it even stored in the cloud. So I have duplicates, and the reason you don't want to be too aggressive is some of those duplicates may either be similar images taken one right after the other, or they may be edited images. So you have the original and you've slightly edited it, and maybe you don't want to get rid of the original, but you don't want to lose the edit either. Gemini is very smart. And a good duplicate remover will be this way. It will look at the contents of the file as opposed to just the name, creation date, metadata, that kind of stuff. And it will say, this is exactly the same file. We can eliminate this. But it will also say, here's two photos that look similar. and put them side by side so you can hand pick. And I think you certainly can eliminate photos that are, files that are exact duplicates of one another. It goes through, it does a hash of the contents, and it says these are matching hashes. Chances in 1 in 100 million that it's different photos. It's the same photo. You can let it do that. But it also has a smart select feature. I think it's worth the money. Gemini 2.
Okay, part 2 of this, and that is the merging of the photos. What do you suggest on that? Merging the two libraries.
Merging them. That's a little more complicated, isn't it? What I would do probably is merge then dedupe.
Okay, merge then dupe. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean dedupe.
Yeah.
Dedupe. Okay.
Yeah. Because you're going to get that's probably there. I don't know if Gemini, actually somebody's telling me Gemini's only $45 forever. Good deal. Then they have upgrades and features, so it's you get the one version forever. So that's good.
I wrote that down. And by the way, you're putting me in the mood because I look like my British friends will say, you're coming over the pond to see us.
Well, go get some Starbucks, and then you can go home and do the duplicate file finder. One last plug for Marquardt. They're Ukrainian, and they're working under very difficult circumstances. They deserve our $45. I think it's a good reason to send them some money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, one more thing before I let you go, and that is you forgot one. Okay, and that's rubber baby buggy bumper.
Rubber. I was doing tongue twisters during the break, trying to loosen up limber up my lip. I said red leather, yellow leather. I like rubber baby buggy bumpers. I can say that one pretty well. I've practiced that one. Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
Always nice talking to you.
All right. Take care. It's a pleasure talking to you. Go enjoy that Frappuccino, my friend. Have one on me. Okay, so there is a subscription. If you get it for $20, then I guess a year, then it's a yearly renewal. Or you can buy it outright for $45. Okay, so you get to choose. I have to say, I've used a lot of deduping programs, and there are quite a few for Windows as well. Gemini is easily the best one I've used. And as I said, iPhotos purports to do it, but they quite probably wisely are not aggressive. You know, it's far better to have a couple of copies of the same photo than to lose a copy of a photo you really don't want to lose. So that's why it's a tricky thing to do. But we all do it. I think in general, maybe we can leave, I get calls from people who say, my registry, I want to clean my registry, or I want to run a file cleaner, or, and sometimes you don't want to be too OCD, not to be too tidy. Remember, it's all there on the hard drive. Don't mess things up. You can go too far. Mike from Riverside, next. Hi, Mike. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello, Leo.
Hey, Mike.
You can help me.
I hope so.
So I have a Galaxy A42 5G.
Yeah.
And so I'll be sitting in a meeting, and I might say something like Pacific Ocean, and it just starts going ocean sounds.
And it goes ocean sounds? It thinks you're talking to Google Assistant, or maybe it's Bixby. That's hysterical.
How do I turn that off?
So there is a setting on most Android phones. I'm not sure about that A series, but I'm pretty sure on most Android phones to say, don't listen for the trigger word. Don't listen for, hey, you know who. Just wait till I press the on-off button, the physical button. Most phones will allow this because for this very reason. You're sitting in a meeting and it's starting to talk to you. It happens to me all the time. So you want to make the assistant not be listening. There's also, maybe some good reasons not to do that for other reasons. If you go into assistant settings, at least in plain Android, you can say, hey.
I'm in settings now.
Yeah.
I'm in settings now. Connections, sounds, notifications.
Let's see. See if I can find it in here. Now, I don't have the same phone, and Samsung changes this all. Your best friend, frankly, is the search settings, and just search for assistant. And then you will see somewhere the ability, maybe it's under general, adjust how your assistant helps answers questions and gets things done. And then there's an on-off switch. When off, your assistant will no longer respond when you say, hey, Goog. But I do believe, let me see but I do believe you can press the on-off button and it will listen to me.
Somebody told me at work.
Yeah,
somebody told me at work that I can make it to where nothing will happen unless I press the button to turn the phone on.
That's what I'm talking about. Yep.
Okay.
It's in the settings somewhere, hidden away. The problem is that Samsung modifies the settings, and I'm looking at a Google phone, plain Android, so the settings might be somewhat different. That's why I just use the search and search for assistant, and it may take a little digging to find it. But yeah, the same thing on the iPhone. You can make it so that it's not listening. That's what you want to do. Don't be listening to me. Just respond when I press the button. For a while, Google let you squeeze the phone. That was nice. But they stopped doing that. You'd squeeze it to wake it up. Now you do. You press the on-off button. Again, Samsung may do it slightly differently. Remember, Samsung has its own assistant, Bixby. So you might want to turn off both the Google Assistant and the Bixby Assistant. Hey, thanks for listening, and I'm sorry you got ocean sounds. Maybe that's the phone trying to tell you, hey, chill, man. You should go surfing. Forget this meeting. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that stuff. My phone number, 8888-ASK-LEO, if you want to call in and ask a question, make a comment, make a suggestion, help me with a previous caller. 8888-ASK-LEO, that's always appreciated. Kent is next. He's on the line from Bennett, Colorado. Hello, Kent. Whoop, let me push that button there. Hi, Kent.
Hello, Leo.
What can I do for you? Actually, what can you do for our caller from yesterday?
So I typically listen to your show when I'm out doing nonprofit stuff, so I can't exactly, jump on and help. But your caller yesterday looking for file recoveries or his photos.
Yes.
I ran into a very similar issue that Dan was having where the partition just kind of did whatever it wanted to do, and the computer kind of did whatever it wanted to do.
He had an external hard drive that the files were just saying, I can't read this. I don't know what this is. It's garbage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ran into the same thing that on a ESX server. So I found a program called PhotoRec.
PhotoRec.
It's
okay.
a little bit older program by a guy named Christopher Greenier, I believe is how you say his last name.
Okay.
And what it did is it went through and scanned the drive. It didn't even bother with partition tables. It didn't bother with the table of contents.
Yeah.
It just scanned through it, and anything it found that fit the format of a photo, it would put a name and copy the file off to a directory you provided.
Yeah, I'm looking at the website. It says it ignores the file system, goes after the underlying data. So even if your file system's been damaged or reformatted, it can recover them. And hey, it's open source and free, which is awesome.
Yep, and I used it to recover. I had about 4 VMware virtuals on an ESX box and lost the drive, and I was actually able to recover about 90% of all my files off those virtuals, and it didn't matter if they were Linux, Windows, or a Mac.
Oh, I'm going to add this to my toolkit. This looks great. Thank you so much for the recommendation. Yep. cgsecurity.org is the website. It's old. They haven't updated it since 2019. Okay, that's good enough. These things don't change.
It works wonders on Ubuntu, though.
Yeah, and the fact that it worked is great. It works on Windows, DOS, Linux, BSD, Solaris, and Mac OS X. You might have to compile it because if you're using an oddball system, but it's open source, which really makes it great. That's really cool. What a great recommendation. I'm going to add this to my my kit. Thank you, Ken.
And speaking of your toolkit, this came up, again, as I'm out in the middle of nowhere doing stuff, and listening to your show, I hear several callers, kind of asking about the same thing over and over again. Like,
oh yeah,
your last caller to want to go about duplicate photos.
Yep. And he even has asked that question twice.
Yeah. And one thing I thought of, and maybe you have it, and you just haven't, put it out there on the show enough. But do you have like a top 10 files?
No, that's a great idea. That's a really good idea. On the old site, we did have some things like that, but we shut down the old site, and we don't have anything like that right now. What a good idea. Put together something like that. The problem is it changes all the time, so I have to constantly update it. But you're right. I don't mind the same questions because, well, A, I already know the answer. That helps. But B, I think if people keep asking the same questions, it's because the same problems are coming up. And yeah, of course, somebody like you is smart enough to go to the website and see if they can find that answer. But most people are just calling. And, that's kind of the beauty of this is, I'll answer your question even if I've heard it once or twice before. That's fine. But it's a good idea. I should put that together. I have, in the past, we've put together recommendations for the first, 5 things you should do when you get a brand new Wi-Fi router, stuff like that. And all of that was on the old Tech Guy Labs site, which we, just for budgetary reasons, we had to kill that a few months ago.
Yeah. Or maybe Leo's top toolkit ideas or something.
Yeah. Well, this would go in it for sure.
Have to update it.
Yeah.
All the time.
This would go in it, Kent. Obviously, you're a more sophisticated user. Thank you for finding this. I love it when there's open source solutions that get the job done. And this looks like exactly what he needs.
For a Mac and Windows version of it too. But
it's cross-platform. Yeah, it's cross-platform, which is great. Yeah, it's basically a Linux tool or a Unix tool that will run on any Unix platform. And he has a Windows version, which is great.
So hopefully that'll help out.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. Great to have you listening, Kent.
Sure.
Have a great day. Take care. Jerry is next from Bucks County. Hello, Jerry.
Hello, Leo. Pardon me. I was about to brush up on my cuneiform, get a wax tablet, and it's dried.
Oh, the clay is dry. What are you going to do? Well, I suggest moistening it, covering it with a towel, and let it sit overnight, and you should be able to use your cuneiform tablets once again the next day.
Well, my voice is from screaming at my inkjet printers.
Oh, Lord. What have they done now, Jerry?
Well, you know what? If you don't use it for a while, the heads clog up or it's incorrect, it reads wrong. So I'm thinking about a laser printer.
I make this recommendation frequently only because while inkjet is the best if you want to do photo printing, if you want good color, there are a lot of reasons you might want inkjet. The problem is if you don't use them a lot, the nozzles, which are very tiny. I mean, actually, the inkjet technology is kind of a remarkable miracle of science. These are teeny weeny, microliter drops that they're spraying out in these tiny nozzles. But as a result, if you don't use them, the ink in the nozzle will dry and it can clog the nozzle, and it's a constant problem. And it's why I moved to LaserJet some years ago, or laser printing some years ago. Laser, though, is not as good for you. You can't do photo printing, and the color in a laser printer is what they call business color. If you get a color printer, it won't be rich color. It's just enough for a graph and things like that. But yeah, I prefer a laser printer. They you don't have to use them as much. It's not as expensive. They don't get clogged. It's not as expensive. It is initially because you get a toner cartridge. Might cost you $189, but that goes for 5,000 sheets. So the cost per page on lasers is almost always lower. I use a Brother, which makes very good laser printers, but there are a lot of companies that make excellent laser printers. And now, not as expensive. They used to be, that was the other thing, was, when Apple first put out the Laser Writer, which was the first laser printer based on a Canon engine way back in the 90s, it was, what was it, $5,000? It was very expensive. But laser printers now, you can get them for not as cheap as an inkjet, because they ain't going to make money back in ink cartridges, but, under $200 easily get a good one.
Leo, did I hear you right last or so that they're doing something so that your printer only prints so many sheets before it goes belly up?
Yeah.
Renewal.
Yeah, this was Epson. They have in their inkjet printers, there's a sponge which absorbs the overflow, and so you don't spill ink down the side of your desk. And a number of people have reported that with particular Epson models, their printer will stop and say, "Sorry, your sponge is full. Get a new printer." So there are fixes. In fact, if you go on YouTube and search for waste ink pad sponge, you can see how to replace it. Epson even sells them. But this has been a problem where it'll say service required on your Epson printer, and it's all because just this little sponge is full. There are ways to fix this, though. That's the good news. A lot of times these printer companies, they don't make much on inkjets. They want you to buy new inkjets more often. So they find all sorts of inventive ways of getting you to throw out your perfectly good printer. You can get a new sponge to replace that.
Leo, have you heard of a Phantom laser?
No, what's that?
I don't know. $180. It's a monochrome all-in-one ADF multifunction.
I don't know. Oh, laser printer, not a laser. I don't. Pentax? Pentum?
P-A-N-T-U-M, Phantom.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Monochrome, wireless, all-in-one ADF multifunction laser printer.
Nice. My recommendation would go to PC Magazine. They do a yearly printer roundup. They look at all of them. I'm very happy with Brother. I have a Brother printer that's about $120. HP makes the LaserJets. Those are kind of the classic business printer, but there are plenty of HP LaserJets under $200. If you want an all-in-one, you'll spend a little bit more. The ability to copy and fax. And
well, I have a laser.
Phantom. I'm looking at it right now on Amazon for $99. I don't know anybody who's used one of these, so I'm not sure I can recommend it. But go with Brother or HP. Those are the quality names. Oh, well, here's a review from Scooter X. Thank you, Scooter X. A review from PC Magazine of the Phantom printer. I trust PC Mag. They're one of the last companies that still does these reviews. 3.5 stars. It's good. The low purchase price is balanced by a slightly high cost per page, but nice text quality, connection options, and paper handling. Sounds good. Boy, at that price, why not? Get two. They're cheap.
Why not?
I hope your voice recovers. Have you been singing, yelling at the TV?
I've been screaming at my printers.
Yelling at your printer. A noble pursuit all of us engage in from time to time. I hope you feel a little bit better. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Rod Pyle coming up, our space guy. We'll talk about space and more of your calls too. Again, 8888 Ask Leo. Website, techguylabs.com. This is from a John Hughes movie. Feels like Molly Ringwald is going to pop in at any minute. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Back to the phones we go. Let's see who's next here. John from St. George, Utah. Hello, John.
Hi, Leo. I took care of my mother during the last few years of her life, and so I need to. She's passed away now, and I'm trying to bring things up to speed.
Yeah.
I let some things slide, and I have an old Android phone. It has very little memory, but I have some Godzilla security cameras I use as a nanny cam.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And anyway, there's a little memory in my phone. I did something kind of stupid. I was trying to delete something else, but I accidentally deleted the data for the Godzilla app on my phone.
Okay.
And they've gone out of business.
Yeah, they went out of business a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and I'm unable to access them. I know they're connecting to the Wi-Fi because the light on them is coming on.
I'm looking at a Consumer Reports article from July 2020. The reason they're writing about it is they had contacted Godzilla about security problems they found. And the company went out of business immediately after. And now, do you have a 360? Because that camera just doesn't even work anymore.
No, I think this is probably one of their earlier models.
Okay. So some of their models required, like many cameras, stored your video on their servers. As soon as they shut down, those servers shut down, and those cameras basically, according to Consumer Reports, became useless because they can't, there's nowhere for them to contact, to upload. But it's an interesting question.
I wasn't uploading to the cloud.
It's an interesting question because the cameras internally still work. And
that's all I want.
Yeah. The problem is, of course, the firmware. Because those cameras may be set up to connect back to the home office even if you're not storing documents, storing video there. So that's an interesting question. You'd like to continue to use the cameras. Are you?
I know there are APK files on the internet for some of their software.
So you think if you got the software back on your phone, that you'd be able to access those cameras?
Well, I don't know. I do have the app on the phone. I'm going to switch to another phone, and I don't know if.
Yeah. So those APKs, as long as you're very careful, those APK repository. APK is the file format for apps on Android. It's like EXE. And as long as you're careful about where you're getting it from, they're off. A lot of times you'll get malware this way. But if you're pretty sure this is the Godzilla app and this is a reliable source, it'd be fine. It's called side loading. You don't install it through the Play Store. You have to check a box in the security settings and say, yeah, I'm going to download it from a website. But you can still install those. I'm looking at an article from Bleeping Computer from September of that year saying these cameras were easily hacked, which actually might be good for you because you can get into them. You don't need to get the help of the company. It's very simple to hack these devices. I'm reading a post on Bleeping Computer from October of last year. I'm one of the researchers that exposed the security flaws, even got Amazon to pull the product for a couple of weeks. I was checking back on Guardzilla to dump the AWS creds once again when I noticed they were shut down. The hardware is actually fairly nice. We reversed engineered a lot of the software, but the firmware and all of our notes can be found on our GitLab server, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes and to this post on Bleeping Computer. This guy is trying to find a community he can help enable to start building a back end for these cameras. So this might be worth checking into this guy's site, see if anything has happened since last October. Mm-hmm. I imagine there's quite a few people who have them. Oh yeah. Oh no. This doesn't.
Well, I have. I was wondering. There's, I think, some software that will allow you to access. If you have different kind of cameras, access them all, which is another issue I have. Is I have some different kinds of cameras, and I don't know.
I don't know. This is quite a bit of hacking going to be involved, because basically what you've got here is a camera that expected to contact Guardzilla's servers. You're going to have to modify those cameras to make them work again. And I think that is a non-trivial thing. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Let me look and see. I had to take a break there. We got Rod Pyle coming up. Let me look and see if there is third-party kind of software for stuff like this. This is going to take some research on your part. Are you handy with this kind of thing?
Well, I have a terminal degree in science, so I'm
okay.
I have some, but that doesn't mean I can't do stupid things. And,
Well, the good news is you can't be any worse than non-functioning, and that's what these cameras are right now. So, my sense is, looking at this guy's posts, unfortunately, he's locked down his GitLab server now. But it looks like these cameras really what model do you have? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know offhand.
So you were able to, with your phone... See, my thinking is that what your phone was doing was contacting the cameras not directly via their IP address, but via Guardzilla's servers. That's normally how it works. So even if you're not using their servers to store your video, because you pay money for that, you still had to contact the camera through the server. So it'd be my guess that even if you got that app, it's not going to work because those servers are down. But there's two rays of hope. First of all, it is a camera that's on the internet, so you do have an IP address. So if there's some way that you can hack into that camera, and given that there's a security flaw that they're using bad passwords, maybe you can hack into that camera just like a hacker would. So what you might want to start looking at is ways to hack the Guardzilla cameras and see if you can get in there. They were very insecure, apparently. That's not a good thing, except that might be the path you use to get into it. I would be reluctant to put them online. Security flaws let anyone snoop on Guardzilla's smart video camera recordings. But those are the recordings uploaded to Amazon's web servers. So maybe that's the issue. I mean, I think it put the company out of business.
I do have some, I think some screenshots from the past on my phone.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is going to be, honestly, unless you're really up for this, more of a project than it's worth, especially given that you can go to Wise and buy working cameras for $20 and $30. But so I'm not sure it'd be worth the effort.
Yeah, I figure there are a lot of people out there probably that own these, and
I would keep an eye on the forums and so forth. Yeah, because somebody may figure it out. But how much did you pay for the camera?
I think they were $75 each.
Yeah.
At the time.
I think you've lost that money, basically. I hate to say it.
Well,
it's a shame. It feels like you should be able to use that, right? Here's a camera. It's on the internet. It's got an IP address. I should be able to get into it.
Aren't there apps and things that will monitor multiple IP cameras or IP viewers?
There are, if that camera puts video over that IP address. The problem is you don't have a way to command and control that camera. So what that camera's firmware is set up to do is contact a server in the cloud, not to be available to you. So it doesn't mean if you went to that IP address, oh, look, there's video. I don't think that's the case.
You're sure it had to be contacting their servers to work?
I'm not sure. No, but given what I'm reading about it, looks like it did. So it's not like you could go to the IP address and suddenly see video. I got to run. I got to... Rod's on the phone. Okay. I got to do Rod on the phone here. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Just to wrap things up, we were talking about these Godzilla cameras. When video cameras are insecure, that's a problem because they are pointed at your home. They're pointed sometimes inside your house. And if a bad guy on the internet can go see what's on those cameras, that's problematic. The attack on the Godzilla cameras were an attack on the Godzilla servers. I think it put the company out of business. Our caller wanted to use these cameras not by sending video to the server, but by sending video directly to his devices, which may be possible and probably wouldn't be too insecure, except if you can see it, that may mean a bad guy can see it too. I honestly think the best thing to do, I'm going to reiterate my advice, is just, money's gone, it's lost forever. Go get some other cameras. Now it's time to talk to our spaceman, Rod Pyle. Hello, Rod Pyle.
Wow, an analog rim shot. Hi, how are you?
Yep, I'm great. He's the author of so many great books about space, but also, more importantly, editor-in-chief of the official publication of the National Space Society, Ad Astra, and you can subscribe or get a copy at space.nss.org. What's new in space, Rod?
Well, we got a few things on This Week in Space this week. That's kind of complicated to say, isn't it?
That's your show, This Week in Space. Just call it Twist. This is your show, Twist, that you do with Tarek Malik from space.com on our podcast network, twit.tv/twist. Yes.
Thanks to you. We got a nice conversation with Nancy Chabot, who is one of the science leads on the DART mission. So she gave us a nice catch-up on how much they deflected the asteroid.
It was a great success, they're saying, right?
Many times it was on the outskirts of their modeling, let's put it that way, but it was on the good side, not the bad.
It was more successful than they anticipated.
Yeah. And so we talked about that, and then we talked about, what's next, things like the NEO surveyor camera that they want to put up in orbit. It's a telescope that would help identify these things so that we can decide which ones we want to hurl spacecraft at and so forth. But coming up this week, the Orionid meteor shower, which is one of the big ones of the year. It's nice because it's not the dead of winter like some of the other ones are, so you can actually get out there and enjoy yourself without freezing yourself. So that will peak on the dawn hours of October 21 and 22nd this week. And this shower is known for having a fairly high number of fast meteors that are bright and leave long trails. And something interesting for radio folks, because the ionized trails reflect FM, if you have a radio, even a car radio, and you tune to a distant station, you can sometimes hear hisses and pops and amplifications of the signal as it bounces off of the ionized trail from these things. We don't have much of a moon this year. The moon's going to be a waning crescent. So if you get out there after midnight and you've got a clear shot at the sky. When I say clear shot of the sky, I mean somewhere dark, right? So not my backyard, probably not your backyard, although Petaluma is better than L.A. But you really want to get out as far as you can. And there's a website called darksky.org that covers the U.S., Latin America, and Europe that will tell you where some of the darkest places are within driving distance of you. So that's a really good way to figure out where you might want to go.
That's cool.
Have you seen one before?
A meteor shower?
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen shooting stars. That's kind of it, right?
Yeah.
And, they said the Perseids, which is another big one. I would go out. I'd look at the sky. I'm impatient. You have to be patient enough to kind of just lie there like in Wayne's World and waiting for a shooting star. Now, this one, tell me if I'm wrong. This is Halley's Comet, right? Or Halley's Comet, as is more properly pronounced.
The other one.
No, this is, well.
Is this one?
I don't know why I asked you, because I know.
Yeah, you're staring at
The
it.
Orionids meteor shower, often shortened to the Orionids, is the most prolific meteor shower associated with Halley's Comet.
There it is, yeah.
Or Halley's Comet.
Oh, here's why I was confused. It also causes the Eta Aquarids in May. So
well, you know how that is.
Yeah. But yeah, effectively, I mean, these things are essentially just big gravel banks kind of drifting around these orbits, and the Earth goes through it. And one of the reasons so many of them peak after midnight is because that's when the Earth turns into its orbit, and you're hitting them faster, and they're burning up brighter. So you're not chasing them down; you're actually running into them. So they're fun, and you'll see one every few minutes. But like I said, this one tends to. I guess the pebbles are larger, so it tends to give you some really good displays. So that's cool.
And it's nothing to fear, right? They're not these are never going to reach the Earth. These meteors.
No, they're really gravel sized or smaller. Yeah. Some of them are just the size of a grain of dust or a pea. Now, if one does get really bright and doesn't move from side to side, then you probably should worry. If it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, then I would. Because that's bad.
Steve Martin wrote a play called Meteor Shower, where they're sitting out in the backyard watching the meteors, and it's exactly what happens. It gets bigger and bigger, and it blows a hole right in one of the guys. And because it's Steve Martin, he's walking around with a smoking hole in his sweater.
Yeah, of course. Every now and then they do run into things. There was another cool story, though, which I'm calling the universe of the Minecraft hammer. This kid, Christopher Slayton, maybe you saw the story, decided to try and model the known universe in Minecraft.
I saw it, and I immediately went to the next story because it's obviously impossible.
Well, so yeah, there's a little bit of flexibility and latitude in the clickbait title. Yeah, what he did was he modeled the solar systems because he thought that would be cool, which is in itself a pretty big achievement because you're building these spheres and you have to manually light them. There's not apparently a way to do an external light source that automatically hits everything. So I have to manually light one side and not the other. And then he realized, oh, geez, Saturn's rings are tilted off the axis, so I've got to actually build them like a series of circular stair steps. I mean, the amount of labor that went into this. I mean, I like it because it's kind of, even though it's digital, it's kind of an analog way of doing it. But he spent like 2 months of, 10 or 15 hours a day just sitting there sweating and probably eating Cheetos and Mountain Dew and doing this thing. But
he didn't just sit inside. The New York Times said he also went out and skydived for some.
Yeah, he skydived and did some stargazing and so forth. But when he got done with the solar system, he thought, as we used to lying in bed, well, what's when we were younger, what's beyond that? What's beyond that? What's beyond that? So he went on to do a black hole, a fairly convincing job of a black hole, actually. Galactic clusters, galaxies, clusters of galaxies, and then tried to do sort of a mega view of the galactic clusters in the universe. So I assume these are separate things because, who's got time
to do this in Minecraft in a way that looks real? You'd have to lay a lot of bricks because Minecraft is very blocky. So you have to have a lot of bricks, and then you have to get at a great distance from it to make it look real. That's quite a bit of crazy work. I don't know if this kid's got a future or what.
Well, I mean, he's got his video he did on it, which is, I think, about 10 minutes long.
3.3 million views.
Yeah, almost 3.4 now. Yeah. And, as you watch it, as you're watching the video, it's going click, 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 click. More people are clicking on. And as he pulls back from these things, they look pretty convincing. He also did the Pillars of God, that big nebula that we saw from the Hubble years ago. He modeled that. And a nebula is tough because it's just gas, right?
Yeah.
So
it's not easy modeling a gas with Lego-sized bricks, but
I don't think so. And can you make those things translucent, or are they opaque? I've never played with it.
I played a lot with it, but I don't remember any translucent materials. Well, no, wait a minute. I take it back. There is glass. Yeah. It's a lot of work. He's using some sort of weird mod to do it probably, but that's a lot of bricks he's putting down there.
Just, he shows how he modeled
these galaxies and nebulae, and then pulls back and he moves it. And it's a big solid thing, right?
That's cute.
He has to go in and color
That's
it.
Cute. I hope he gets into a fine university as a result.
Cluster of 5 pixels. Yeah.
Ron Pyle, listen to This Week in Space. Twit.tv/twit. Thank you. Twiz. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
That's just bizarre.
Why would you call him, right?
Yeah, that's just bizarre to do that.
Yeah.
I don't. You don't know how mind-numbingly boring this would be. It's so much worse than building it out of Lego, to be honest.
Yeah, that's more our speed, huh?
Obviously, this kid wants to be a YouTube celeb.
Well, I think he succeeded, and the video is it's fast paced, it's fun to watch, it's cute. He's got a good sense of humor.
Good for him.
Whoever edited the thing got it. So he's got a future doing something. I just don't think it's being God and building the universe.
He's actually been doing YouTubes for a long time. He does big builds of all kinds in Minecraft.
Well, it doesn't get much bigger than this, does it?
First you build a city, then you build a country, then you build a planet. Now you got to build the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He also does Van Gogh. He did Starry Night in Minecraft.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, my Lord.
Nobody puts tomato soup on it.
He'll be, I predict he'll be living with his parents for a while.
Or not. I shouldn't mock it. I don't understand the modern world. I really don't.
Well, I don't either. And look at the success your son's had.
That's why I no longer pretend to know anything. Exactly. If I told you how much he got for his book advance, you would pass out.
No.
You would pass out.
Well, because advances are not what they used to be. So if
this one was,
if it's past 5 figures, it's a miracle.
Yeah. It's in the 6 figures.
Oh, I'm going to spend the rest of the day in tears now.
I know.
Now, is it would that be in the cooking column?
It's a cookbook. Yeah, it's a cookbook.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
When's it going to come out?
Well, he's got to write it first.
Well,
I don't know.
They give you a due date.
I'm sure he has a deadline. I'm sure he does, and he's a very hardworking guy, so.
Well, and so that should inspire you to write your book now.
No, never. I've written enough books. It's so hard. It's so much work.
It's a pain in the butt.
I love seeing him surpass his old man, though. That's good. That's really good. I want him to do
that's
really
very generous of you, because...
I know. Sometimes, get jealous. But I'm not at all jealous of him. He's doing really well.
I have a little moment of envy every now and then when I see my kid get his next job and his next job.
I know.
How much more than me? Okay.
You should be glad. You should be so... How old's your kid?
He's 27.
You should be... Yeah, same age as Henry. Henry's 28. You should be glad. This is a tough time for these kids. Michael's working hard at a full-time job. It's not enough to live on. It's a union job and everything, but it's just,
Yeah.
So if our kids are doing good, that's something to be proud of. At least
that's very generous of you, because when you said I should be proud, I thought you were talking more about how they're going to support us in our old age.
Well, I think that too. Henry always said that, remember, I'm going to choose your nursing home. So be nice to me.
The one with the cracked sidewalk.
And now I think you might be right.
He might be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, Lisa's going to pick it first. And then the question is, will she visit or not? So that's why I got to be nice to Sherry, is to make sure she actually visits me in the old folks' home.
Yeah, you're right. Lisa's picking it first. You're absolutely right. She says, no, this home will be your old folks' home. I said, it already is. I hope it stays that way. That's all. It already is my old folks' home.
Very good.
Once we put railings on the toilet, then I'll know.
Oh. Yeah, I was looking at the bathtub the other day.
I can't get in it.
Thinking, do I need a handle yet?
No, not yet.
Can't go there.
Hey, thank you, Rod.
Just grab the shower curtain. Take
Bye.
care.
Again? Thank you for letting me be your tech guy again. Thanks so much to Professor Laura, our musical director. Did good job today. Did you play a song from 1936, though? Did you? I don't think you did. You're missing your chance to play some really great oldies but goodies. Oh, the good stuff. Rudy Valley. Where I don't even think I think that's before Rudy Valley. But anyway, great job, Professor Laura. I appreciate it. Thanks also to Kim Schaffer, our phone angel. She answers your calls, gets you ready for your appearance on the national radio scene. And, of course, thanks to all of you who listen and call in and put up with me every weekend. I can't thank you enough. Back to the phones. We've got time for a couple more calls. William in Seattle. Hello, William.
Hey, Leo. First-time caller.
Welcome. Fan. Nice to have you.
2 questions for you.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Amiga fan. I have an Amiga 1200.
Wow.
They still make accelerators today. They use FPGA accelerators.
They also make emulators, but okay.
Yeah, they make emulators and accelerators for the real hardware.
Nice.
And I'm curious, what happened to computer accelerators?
You don't need them, basically. So your Amiga 1200 is, how long ago did you get that? 1990s, right?
92, I think.
Wow. And what do you do with it?
Oh, just run old stuff and see how fast you can get, just music videos. And I can't remember the name off the top of the head. I'm kind of nervous.
Oh, do you do the demo scene stuff? You make those...
the demo scene stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fun. That was a big... and it's kind of come back.
Massively.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. So these accelerators would be sometimes more memory. Would they have more processors too?
Generally, they were more processing power, or they had like they had.
Let me look at one. Oh yeah, I see. Here's one that's got a 68030 processor, 64 megs of fast RAM. Look, PCI MCI friendly. Purple edition. So, okay, and they run around a couple $100. The reason you don't see them on PCs is it's not the way a PC works these days. You can't just plug a card in to an expansion slot and have that processor take over. In fact, there are very few PCs you can even upgrade the processor. But they're very fast nowadays. You should try one. You probably don't need an accelerator is the other reason.
Oh, I have a M2 MacBook.
Oh, okay. Yeah, very fast, right?
I still like it.
Yeah. And that one you can't accelerate because the whole thing lives on that chip, including all the RAM. So they're not an open platform like that. In fact, in a way, this is one of the things that made the Amiga interesting, is they made this bus available. You could plug a card into the bus and add more memory or add a faster processor. That's pretty impressive. Not something we do anymore.
I had one more quick question from your past. Screensavers, whatever happened to Michael Sargent? I have his name, right?
No. So this is confusing because I work with a guy named Micah Sargent. You're thinking of Martin Sargent.
Martin Sargent.
Yes, who was a wonderful guy. He used to do explainers for us. I remember one where he wore a raincoat and he had a bunch of probably accelerator cards in the raincoat. And said, "You want to buy one?" I love Martin. Very funny guy. He went off after Tech TV ended to work for one of the best ad agencies in San Francisco. He's a copywriter there. He did a podcast for us for a little while with Sarah Lane, also from the Screensavers, called This Week in Fun. He actually wrote to me the other day, a couple months ago, and said, "Could we bring This Week in Fun back? Would you mind?" I said, "No, absolutely not. I'll give you the theme song, anything you want to do. I would be glad to support that." But I haven't heard from him since. I'm sad to say he has, I don't think this is private. He has multiple sclerosis. No, he's got, is it MS? Yeah, I think he's got MS. So he's got a long-term chronic degenerative disease. So it's gotten harder for him to walk and so forth. We had him on a few times on our shows. I love the guy.
He's a great guy.
Very funny.
Thank you for answering the Amiga question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The good old days. You live in the past, my friend.
I'm trying to. Those Amiga 1200s are going for almost $1,000.
What? So it's enthusiasts. Is it mostly the demo scene that people are doing or making music or?
They're still making games for it. They're making software. They're still making, what is that? It's Hippo Player to play music.
Wow.
The tracks for Amiga.
Wow.
People go on GitHub and search Amiga. You can find hardware developers. You can find software developers. It's amazing.
There's a couple things going on here. Of course, people's first computer is the one that, had all the awe and amazement, and it imprints on their minds. So people always have a fondness for that very first computer, especially if it was a personal computer like the Amiga. Paul Thurrott, who does our Windows Weekly show, started on the Amiga, and still has a lot of love for it. I remember John C. Dvorak loved his Amiga. He used, in fact, it's interesting because the software that came with Amiga for video editing was way ahead of its time. Still lives today in the new Tech TriCaster. In fact, it's what we use for our video switching. So in some ways, the Amiga is still alive. Let me see if I can find a demo scene song I can play for people so they can hear it. It was basically 8-bit music created with the Amiga's own sound generating software. Oh, it's a YouTuber. Oh, I hate YouTubers. He's going to talk and talk and talk, but never play any of the music. Let's see if I can find some here. No, more YouTube talking. If he stops talking, I could play the song. Yeah, nope. It's fun. It's done with the Amiga's music generators. It was one of the ways the Amiga was way ahead of its time. It was a very sophisticated computer for the early 1990s, right?
It was basically the infancy of electronic music, pretty much.
Yeah.
Not a lot of vocals, it's just a lot of...
And I remember we used to go to the trade shows every year, and we'd see Kiki Stockhammer with her video toaster on her Amiga showing us editing tricks we thought no personal computer could ever achieve. It was a very amazing computer for 40 years or 30 years ago. That's the key.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Well, thank you so much.
Hey, a pleasure talking to you. Now that you know the way, come back, okay?
Absolutely.
See you again, William. Take care. One more call, Michael in L.A., before we wrap things up. Hi, Michael.
Hi there. Oh, glad to finally get to it. You've been doing the show for decades, right?
Woo! 19 years. Woo!
Wow. That's awesome.
That's just this show. I mean, I did shows before this show even, but 19 years as the tech guy. Yeah. It'll be 19 years in January. Let's put it that way.
How you keep all that in your brain, I have no idea.
Oh, it's not there. It's like sawdust. It's leaking out as we speak.
All the stuff you got to know. It's like being one of those sports talk hosts.
But you know the secret. I listen to sports guys. Yeah, and I'm amazed they can rattle off statistics stuff. But I realize if it's something you love, it kind of goes in your head without a lot of effort.
There you go.
And I guess that's the story of my life is without any effort. They're gonna put that on my tombstone.
Anyway, let's wrap up the show with a really tough challenge.
Yes, sir.
I cannot get Big Brother, also known as Google, to let me into my old email address, one that I've had for over 3 years.
Yeah, you're out of luck, buddy. You're out of luck. You just got to keep trying and hope that some human responds. When you get something for free, the support is going to be terrible because support's expensive and they got to pay for it. Losing your Google account is among the worst things that can happen to you. Keep trying. Don't give up. I know they're, sending you things where you got to prove you are who you say you are. They don't want to make it easy to hack, but don't give up. And everybody who has a Google account should remember, back it all up because this could happen to you too. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm done. Have a great Geek Week. See you next time. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, TWiT. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.